Think about it. When was the last time someone pulled away, and you felt yourself starting to shrink just to keep them? They were warm, present, engaged, and then suddenly, shorter messages, slower replies, colder tone. At first you ignore it. Then it hits. Your body tightens, your mind speeds up. You start asking, what changed? Did I do something wrong? And underneath that, you feel it. You're about to lose them. And right there, you start adjusting. What to say, how to say it, when to say it. And here's the truth. The moment you start shrinking, you leak power, attraction drops, and they pull away even more. The Stoics saw moments like this as training, pressure created by silence, by people testing them, by others trying to pull them off center. As emperors, they had to be hard to move, unreactive and stable under pressure. That's what made them magnetic. This is the shift. That moment when someone pulls away is not something to fix. It's something to master. In this video, we break down 6 practical Stoic principles that show you exactly how to handle that pressure, how to stay grounded when attention drops, stop overreacting, and hold your position when everything in you wants to move. These shifts are small, but they compound, and when they do, people notice. You take your time to respond. You don't rush or react. You move differently, more grounded, more controlled. And that stability attracts attention, respect, and opportunity. Because when you're not easily moved, people are naturally drawn to you. Let's begin. Number 1, don't react. Be honest. You've been here before. You send a message, and the reply doesn't come, or it comes back different, shorter, colder, delayed, and you feel it immediately. Something shifted, and the moment you feel that shift, everything in you wants to move. Your mind speeds up. Your thoughts get louder. You start asking yourself, what happened? What changed? Did I do something wrong? And it feels urgent, like you're about to lose the connection. That's the moment. And more importantly, that's the moment most people start shrinking. They move too early. They adjust. They try to fix what they don't understand yet. Let's be clear. That's not clarity. That's panic. Reactions under pressure don't just fail. They collapse your position. The Stoics trained for this exact moment, not to react, to hold. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands firm, and around it the raging of the sea falls still." Not because nothing happens, but because it doesn't move with everything that happens. That's the standard. So in practice, when your mind tells you to act, you don't. When you feel the urge to send the message, you pause. You sit in it. You don't break position, because the wave passes. It always does. And when it does, you see clearly again. Now you choose. Now you move from control. And that changes everything, because people feel it. They feel when you're not chasing. They feel when you're not trying to secure them. They feel when you don't shrink under pressure, and that's where the dynamic shifts. Because most people move. Most people collapse the moment tension appears. You don't. And that difference is everything. Now they start thinking, why is he not reacting? Why is he not chasing? And just like that, the pressure moves. Not because you forced it, but because you didn't. You held. Silence reclaims position. Restraint is power. You don't react. You don't shrink. You decide. You hold position. Number 2, direct the fire. When rejection hits, it hits hard. It comes with pressure, intensity, and that immediate urge to act. Like something is slipping and you have to move before it's gone. That feeling, that's energy. Raw, immediate, unfiltered. And this is a moment most people waste. They reach out, they explain, they chase. And just like that, it burns out. That's not release, that's waste. So understand this, you only have two options. You either direct it or you let it consume you. Because that surge is your strongest moment, not later. Right there. So when you feel it, don't act on it. Hold it. Let it build. Because reacting in that moment is like throwing fuel into a fire just to watch it burn. Fast, intense, and gone. So instead of pushing it outward, you take it inward. You build, you train, you focus, you move forward. Not as distraction, but as direction. That frustration, that tension, that moment you were overlooked, that's usable energy. And most people waste it trying to regain control externally. You convert it into discipline, into output, into something that strengthens you. That's the shift. Because now you're not reacting, you're directing. And when you do that consistently, your energy compounds. You become harder to move, harder to shake. Because now pressure doesn't make you react. It makes you stronger. Over time, that same moment, the one that used to control you, becomes your advantage. Because now you see it clearly, not random, not personal. Something you can train, something you can use, something you can master. That's where control begins. Number 3, remove your energy. When someone starts pulling back, there's only one appropriate response here. Remove yours. More attention, more effort, more availability only makes it worse, because overinvestment under pressure is just another form of shrinking. Let's be clear. If you keep investing in something that's uncertain, you lose leverage, you lose position, you lose control. That's the pattern. So instead of pushing more energy outward, you pull it back. Not emotionally, not dramatically, precisely. Because this isn't about feelings, it's about investment. The Stoics understood this. They didn't chase outcomes, they controlled where they invested energy. And that changes everything. Because where your energy goes, your power goes. So when something becomes misaligned, you don't give more, you give less. And that's where the shift begins. In practice, you stop over-engaging. You stop being instantly available. You stop feeding a dynamic that isn't returning value. You stop rewarding distance, and instead, you redirect into your work, your body, your direction, your life. And the moment you do that, something changes. Because now they feel it. The shift, the absence, the break in pattern. And that creates pressure, not on you, on them. That's the reversal. Because before you were predictable, now you're selective. And selectivity creates value. Because what is always there is ignored. What is no longer constant gets noticed, gets respected. Removing your energy is not manipulation, it's alignment. You stop investing where there is no return. You stop forcing what isn't flowing. You stop carrying the interaction alone. And that's power. Because now you're not trying to hold it together. You're letting it reveal itself. And that gives you clarity, not what you hope. What is real. And once you see that clearly, you stop chasing completely. You don't adjust yourself to keep it alive. You step back, you observe, you decide. Because now you understand something most people don't. Attention is currency. And where you spend it determines your position. So you stop overspending. You become selective, controlled, intentional. And that's when everything shifts. You become harder to access, harder to read, harder to take for granted. That's value. You don't flood the situation. You withdraw from what weakens you. And what remains, that's what was real. Number 4, hold your standards. When someone pulls back, this is where most people fold. Not because they were rejected, but because they start bending. They become easier, more available, more agreeable, just to keep access. Let's call it what it is. That's not connection. That's negotiation. And this is the deepest form of shrinking, not reacting, not chasing, but adjusting yourself to be kept. And the moment your standards depend on someone else's behavior, they're not standards anymore, they're concessions. You start adjusting yourself to be accepted. That's where you lose respect. Not theirs, your own. Because now your position is flexible, your boundaries shift, your behavior changes depending on how they act. And people feel that immediately, even if they don't say it. The Stoics trained the opposite, stability under pressure. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands firm, and around it the raging of the sea falls still." Not because nothing happens, but because it doesn't move with everything that happens. That's the standard. So when something changes, you don't rush to correct it. You don't bend to accommodate it. You hold. And holding is not passive. It's power. In practice, you don't become easier to access. You don't increase your availability. You don't make yourself smaller to be kept. You stay the same, grounded, consistent, unmoved. Because most people adjust under pressure. Most people react. Most people bend. You don't. And that difference creates respect, not forced, earned. Because consistency under pressure signals strength. You don't chase approval. You operate from standards. And standards don't move. They don't negotiate. They don't adapt to insecurity. They hold. That's what makes you stable. That's what makes you respected. Holding your standards is not stubbornness, it's self-respect. And once you operate from that place, everything changes. Because now you're not trying to keep someone. You're deciding if they deserve to stay. That's the shift. Number 5, let them feel the gap. Let's be honest. If you're always there, you become predictable, always replying, always available, always present. There's no tension, and what has no tension gets taken for granted. That's the reality. But this is where most people misunderstand the shift. The gap is not something you create, it's what appears when you stop overextending, when you stop reacting, when you stop over-investing, when you stop adjusting yourself to keep it alive. There's space, and that space reveals everything, because now something is missing, and people feel absence more than presence. But most people never allow that to happen. They panic, they reach out, they check in, they keep the interaction alive, even when it's one-sided, and in doing that, they remove all pressure. Because as long as you keep showing up, they don't have to. So nothing changes. It stays comfortable. It stays low effort. It stays unbalanced. The Stoics understood this. They didn't force clarity. They allowed it to reveal itself. So instead of maintaining constant presence, you step back, not to play a game, but because you're no longer willing to carry it alone. And that's the shift. You stop trying to control their response, and you observe it. In practice, you stop initiating everything. You allow silence. You allow space. You don't interrupt the process. Because absence does something presence never can. It forces a decision. They either lean in or they don't. But either way, You get clarity, not guesswork, not hope. Reality, and reality is power, because now you see it clearly. Who invests, who doesn't, who values you, who doesn't. And once you see that, you stop chasing completely, because now you understand. Attention creates attachment, but absence reveals it. So you let the gap exist. You don't rush to close it. You let it work. Because that space doesn't create value. It exposes it. And what gets exposed can finally be decided on. That's control. Number 6, turn rejection into leverage. Let's be clear. Most people experience rejection and shrink. They question themselves, they overthink, they take it personally, and that's where they lose, because they treat rejection like a verdict, like something that lowers their value. It doesn't. It reveals something. Not about your worth, about your position. It shows you exactly where things broke, where you reacted, where you overextended, where you overinvested, where you lost control. That's information. And information is power, but only if you use it. Because most people don't. They repeat the same mistake, different person, same pattern. So nothing changes. The Stoics didn't avoid resistance, they used it. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not philosophy. That's instruction. The obstacle isn't blocking you. It's showing you what to correct. So instead of taking rejection personally, you study it. You look at your behavior. Where did you move too early? Where did you give too much? Where did you collapse your position? And you correct it. That's leverage. Because now every rejection becomes training. Not random, not emotional. Predictable. And if it's predictable, you can refine it. You stop reacting the same way. You upgrade. You refine your standards. You tighten your discipline. You become more selective, more controlled, more deliberate. And this is where the real shift happens. You stop trying to be chosen. You start choosing. You stop chasing validation. You start building value. You stop reacting to situations. You start shaping them. That's power. Because now everything you learned, you apply. You don't react. You don't leak. You don't overinvest. You don't bend. You don't interfere. You hold position. And from that position, you build. In practice, you invest in yourself, your discipline, your focus, your direction. You build substance. Because the man who has direction doesn't chase attention. He attracts it. And over time, everything changes. Not because you forced anything, but because you changed. You became harder to move, harder to replace, harder to ignore. That's value. Rejection didn't lower your value. It exposed where you lost it. And once you correct that, you don't just recover, you upgrade. You felt it, that moment of rejection, that pressure, that urge to react. But now you understand something most people don't. That moment was never weakness. It was your test. A test of whether you react or hold, whether you chase or step back, whether you collapse or maintain your position. And every time you pause instead of react, you take your position back. Every time you hold, you build strength. Every time you choose yourself over approval, you reinforce who you are. And over time, that compounds into presence, into stability, into something people feel, without you saying a word. Because most people break under pressure. They react, they chase, they adjust. You don't, you hold. That's the difference. And that difference is everything. So if you've made it this far, write this in the comments. I hold. I don't shrink. Not for me. For yourself. Because this is not a tactic. It's a standard. And once you live by it, everything changes. Stay steady. Stay grounded. Hold your position. More lessons await.